Hi Reza, welcome, welcome. I'm just doing my promotion. I'm putting my stream link into different people's discords. Give me a minute, I'll be with you. Blue. Hi. Okay. Starmer emulates Manfrog with xenophobic speech. How far he's fallen. This is from Big Madge. He is awesome. Then Owen. Keir Starmer goes full Enoch Powell. We've got Katie. Dumbest gender critical take you've ever seen. Israel kick Israel out of Eurovision. And no worries. We can go to it another time. It's probably still going to be relevant in a couple of days' time anyway. What would you like to see? Let's see. Let's go to my subs. Kyle. Oh god. Oh god. Sir, Sir Oswald Starmer. Nice one, Demo. Here, here. See if we can find something. No, I'm not going to piggyback off Kev. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we should probably get on to the proposed additional welfare cuts. So this was trailed earlier on in the week in The Guardian. Like, here is John.
Yeah, Lewis Mosley. Yeah, he was on the panel on Laura. Wearing black of all colours. Don't get me wrong, Joseph Stiglitz is still on neo-lib at heart, but he did actually say some halfway decent things. And Dr. Shan Williams, good for her. Carry on, Helena.
McTernan, former Blairite advisor, deriding the potential new or expanded welfare cuts on Twitter earlier this week, describing it as sheer insanity. £4,500 a year for 1 million people with disabilities hasn't gone far enough, apparently. Insiders argue further reforms would make the system more fair overall, and there is public support for reining in the bill for health and disability benefits, which is set to reach £70 billion by the end of the Parliament. We didn't go big enough the first time round, the costs are unsustainable, one Number 10 source said. It's a fairness issue, but also a fiscal one. How can we spend money on the public's priorities like schools and hospitals if all the money is going on welfare? Have you considered nameless...
Tax the fucking rich! Yelling over. Seriously, they do self-imposed fiscal rules. Rachel, can you fucking hear me? Oh, it is intentional. We totally know this. I need to go and borrow Super Hubby's e-liquid. I will be back momentarily. If you can read what Helena's reading off, feel free.
Number 10 source, that maybe spending money on the disabled is also part of the public's priorities? Maybe that we have priorities that are about people that we want to take care of, as well as public services we want to spend money on?
Oh, they can carry on doing that and we will fucking revolt. We will. Should I direct this at Keir or should I direct it at McSweeney? Oi! McSweeney and McFadden, can you hear me? If you carry on going down this road, you're going to piss off great swaths of this country, myself included. And you don't want an angry Scottish Marcus on your hand. Trust me on that. I do have a kind of fiery temper at times. My entire life I've been dealing with you is scum like you, neoliberal bastards. I'm getting close to my breaking point, right? Oh God, no, it's no holding. I'm sure they are. I wonder if they're one of the 42 that's going to rebel against this vote. It's only 10% of the backbenchers, unfortunately, 10% of them. We need more than that. I asked Super Hubby, how many do we need to revolt for this to get voted down? And he said 310 of them, which would leave them 110, essentially. I didn't see that happening. I don't know how my MP would vote. Maybe I should email her. That might help. Yeah.
Just a thought. Don't know why that wouldn't be a priority, but there you go. A second government source said, "We should have done it all in one hit. We didn't go far enough. We've had all the political pain for very little fiscal gain." Department for Work and Pensions officials are to believe the government would need to cut a total of £15 billion from the benefits bill to make an impact on the rate of growth, when, quite literally, we have seen so many studies from places like the Joseph Rowntree Foundation showing that actually more welfare cuts is going to be bad for growth. Putting money into these disadvantaged communities that have lots of people who are on welfare, these things are important to have the demand to create growth. It's almost like the people in charge of the Treasury are like full-on monetarists. They're not Keynesians. They don't believe in demand-side policy and are very happy to not just undermine left-wing economics prima facie, but also ruin the lives of huge swathes of vulnerable disabled people as well. Because, of course, the people in charge of this government are monsters, are absolute monsters, right? And it doesn't just stop at wanting broader cuts more generally. There's also been stories coming out of the DWP around access to work. Now, for people who don't know, access to work is a service within the DWP that provides funding for people who need additional support to stay in work. So given that the justification for welfare reform is...
Here's the link to Disability News Service. They're a really good resource. I've been reading them a lot, obviously because disabled. But for anyone else who wants to check them out, they really are quite good. So there's a link to their website.
was there to get more people into work. That was the justification, right? So it will get more people to actually start being able to work by forcing them off of welfare so they have to rely on a job to be able to survive. And yet when it comes to the things that they're actually wanting to take money away from...
You're welcome.
First of all, it was personal independence payment, which is not a work-related benefit. It is something that people get for being disabled regardless of their work status, because it's there to take away the additional costs that you would otherwise have incurred as a disabled person just to live a normal life just like everybody else, right? It is a living allowance to try and level the playing field between those who are disabled and those who aren't. It has nothing to do with whether or not you're in work. And so the PIP payments for disabled people who are in work are necessary to keep them in work, so getting rid of that will make it harder for them to work. Likewise, cuts to access to work, which is specifically there to provide resources to make sure that people can work, would also not achieve the stated aim of the Getting People Back to Work green paper that has been lauded as this way of trying to ensure that we increase the level of labour force participation in our society with this broader justification of the dignity of work, which is real kind of Weberian Protestant work ethic bullshit that I have no interest in entertaining. But regardless, it doesn't even do what it says it's going to do. They're taking support away from the things that are there to actually keep people in work. All it's going to do is help impoverish people, like we already know from the projections with regards to the actual impact that these fiscal elements of these welfare reforms will have, which initially was stated to increase the levels of poverty by about 250,000 extra people, 50,000 extra children as well. So this is an article from Disability News Service talking about the cuts to access to work. Leaked information from multiple sources suggests that the Department for Work and Pensions is planning 2 waves of cost cutting that will make it significantly harder for disabled people to secure support through the Disability Employment Programme. The cuts come as some Labour ministers continue to insist that their Pathways to Work Green Paper and its billions of pounds of cuts to disability welfare is focused on helping disabled to find work and stay in employment.
My God, I'm actually doing my Medical Monday for a change. I've got a little stream schedule for ideas for each day that I stream. And Mondays was originally set up to be Medical Monday. So technically this could fall under medical and disability issues. So, my God, I went back to my original plan. I do actually hit up on every now and again.
One disability expert who works in the sector told Disability News Service this week that the changes will directly undermine the government's disability employment agenda. Disability consultant Alice Hastie, who specialises in providing access to work advice, was separately contacted last week by DWP insiders with information about changes to access to work operational delivery. Both sources said that ministers were introducing cuts this week that reduce the range of equipment that ACW will fund. This means ACW will no longer be funding items such as headsets, voice recorders, software for reading and writing, back supports, footrests, chairs, desks and keyboards, even if they are ergonomic, as they'll be seen as standard business items. Access to Work will also introduce a strict cap on hourly rates paid at support workers. Hastie's source said Access to Work was now taking a stricter view of the kinds of tasks that support workers are allowed to carry out if they are funded as job aids. Tasks such as typing emails and note-taking will only be funded for a maximum of 20% of a disabled person's working hours, as such tasks will be seen as replacement rather than enablement. Hastie said DWP is likely to explain the new measures as a clarification of existing rules rather than a new policy. But she added, what is actually saying is cuts, 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 which is true. Again, they are taking something that is explicitly there to provide more support for people who want to stay in work, and they are taking that away, which will lead to less employment rather than more, which will lead to more people going on to unemployment, which will cost the government more money in the long run than it would to maintain the level of support to keep these people in work, right? It's already hard to get companies to spend money on providing reasonable adjustments for the disabled to make their working life the same as everybody else's, right? One way that we were able to do so was through subsidy by the government through things like the Access to Work support platform. And by getting rid of it, by undermining it, you're asking the businesses to want to pay more. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't make businesses pay more to accommodate the disabled, but these people have no interest in doing so because they care about profit rather than they care about the interests of society at large. You're not going to get these people to spend money.
Well said, Helena. Well said. Correct. Very much correct, and I totally agree. Stop coming after people like us or people like me. Seriously? We've got a bad enough time trying to deal with our health issues, let alone you girls coming after our money or our aids to actually work something, do a job. Not that it pays that well. 12.21 is still shit now. Fingers crossed. Yeah. It's going to be fun next year. We've got lots happening. We've got Holyrood. We've got basically lots of Labour councils just now. They're probably shaking in their boots. Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool. Sunderland? Are you next year? I can't remember. Plus London. Not Cannes fine, but it's the rest of the council, essentially, for London. And the Senate. Are they both next year? Thanks, Reza. Thank you. My God, it's going to be fun. Are they just going to have them all on the same Thursday? I think that might be a fucking long stream I'll be doing. Hang on, are council elections next year? Give me a second. Scottish Council elections? The Scottish Council elections are next year as well. Fuck. Fucking long stream. Watch this space. I'll detail it all closer to the time. Probably around my birthday next year in March. Hang on. 6 weeks. Just go for the first Thursday in May. Fuck it. What's the first Thursday? 7th of May is the first Thursday in May. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not far off. For the 6 weeks, I have to be 6 weeks because that's considered as just one step down from the general election. So they'll all be the ones for the Senate and Holyrood. I'm sure it's 6 weeks. I'm sure it's still 6 weeks for them. Will be Thursday, the 26th of March, 2026. Plus, they'll probably start sending out leaflets in early April or mid-March. So that will be fun. Didn't actually realise our council elections were next year as well. Reza, how big are your two councils you just mentioned there? Are they fairly, like, how many councillors do each of them have? If you know, of course. No, I have to say the four main parties actually, now that Reform think they can contend up here, I fucking hope they lose. I don't want any Reform fucking people up here. They wouldn't stand a chance in a general. Well, obviously they didn't. We didn't return any Reform MPs last year from Scotland. Council didn't matter. Hope everyone can see what a snake oil salesman he is. Can't trust the fucker, obviously.
That they don't want to spend money on because it will eat into their profits to hire a disabled person when they could hire someone who isn't disabled that they wouldn't have to spend that same money on, they'd just be providing the wage for. That's what access to work is. It's not just a way of ensuring that people who are disabled can access work in the broad sense. It's also there to make sure that there is no disadvantage in the labour market for the disabled, because if there were the excess costs that would be incurred by businesses to take these people on. So this is bad for the work market, it's bad for disabled people, and it's bad for the overall treasury as well. It's nonsensical. Ahasti told the Disability News Service that the impact of the cuts would be hugely significant, particularly for self-employed disabled people, many of whom have started working for themselves as their last attempt at staying in work, often because of their high support needs and unsupportive employers. She said there are some good points. Employers need to take more responsibility for standard business costs, particularly big employers such as the NHS and big universities, who need to provide reasonable adjustments. But my biggest...
Sorry, fired for what? Oh. Yes, very funny. Yeah, I'm hoping it sends a message as well, Reza. Fingers crossed for that happening. Obviously another year. Unless anyone else gets booted from their party and gets kicked and they just leave Parliament. Always a possibility. Funny world. Fucked up timeline. Anything can happen. Oh! News article. Thank you. Confirm. A Reform UK councillor elected just over a week ago, 10 days, has resigned after failing to declare that he worked for the council. Oh, it's this one. Andrew Kilburn will no longer take up his role as a Durham County councillor for Benfield's side. Is that working class? Or is it kind of middle class? I'm assuming working class, not like a council area. He was elected with 1,007 votes alongside fellow Reform candidate Sandra Grindle. Christ, what a name. Grindle. As the party gained both seats in the Benfield side ward, one from Labour and one from an independent. A spokesperson for the party said it looked forward to contesting the upcoming by-election. Mr. Kilburn's profile on the council website has been removed. Well, you have to do that. And a by-election will be held to elect a new councillor for the ward. The date and further information on the election will be confirmed in due course. Despite the setback, Reform said it hoped to retain its stronghold on the ward, which also covers Black Hill and Shotley Bridge. Ugh. A Reform UK spokesman said, "We understand that Mr Kilburn did not declare his employment to the returning officer as expected and is now required to resign his seat." He knew exactly what he was doing, fucking idiot. He thought he could do both. No, if you're elected, you have to give up your council job. Thank you. "We look forward to contesting the upcoming by-election to give the people of Benfieldside a strong voice in Durham County Council." I hope you don't get it back, seriously. Christ, I would take a Labour councillor at this point over Reform. Last week, Durham County Council addressed reports that several newly elected Reform councillors will not be able to continue their roles. You can't make this shit up. Thank you, Reza. I needed that. That was fun.
Worry is the impact on the self-employed and small businesses. These costs could be completely unmanageable for them. I suspect people will struggle for a while and their health and mental health will get worse. I suspect in the medium term people will stop working, which directly contradicts the singular aim that was stated by the government about the disability welfare reforms from the start, right? It's almost like their discussions about it being about a pathway to work was all a bunch of lies, and in fact the reality is, as I said it before, is just penny pinching for the Treasury. And as you saw in the article quote in The Guardian, it's just about saving money. They don't care about the political fallout, they don't care about the impact on the disabled, they just want to save money, that's all it's about. Now, Stephen Timms, the Minister for Social Security and Disability, said in a written answer in March that the Minister was keen to ensure that we can demonstrate the value for money delivered through a new ATW model, as well as the positive impact it is having, which is, of course, a nonsense bullshit answer that is...
What the fuck are you on about, Timms? Seriously? These people are fucking ghouls.
A way of trying to placate people whilst not actually saying anything about the reality of the cuts that they're going to make. A real weasel words answer that doesn't actually provide any response at all. Just like every single answer that we get from a Labour minister in their ministerial role. We never get a real answer, just, well, we're developing a strategy for this. We've got a milestone we want to achieve. We are working with all stakeholders in mind. All these things are cope and bullshit to try and get people to ignore the reality of what's going to happen every single time. Now, Labour backbenchers have not been happy broadly with these disability reforms. There have been rumours of a backbench rebellion, and there have been a lot of people who've come out and made statements that they think that there are problems with the government's plans. There have been some really kind of outspoken critics, right? But broadly there is a level to which people are uneasy about the level of the cutbacks. However, there has been an kind of open call for Starmer to back down from these welfare cuts. But unfortunately, out of the over 400 Labour MPs in Parliament, a paltry 42, 10% of the Labour benches have openly said that they will not be supporting these welfare cuts. Just 42. How embarrassing for a party that's supposed to claim that it takes care of the vulnerable. A party that in its own manifesto that these MPs got elected on, it said they would always treat disabled people with respect and have them part of the conversation, whilst not even bothering to include them or even having a consultation on the fiscal elements of the Green Paper. So that's not a bunch of bullshit, of course, just another lie from the Labour lie machine, because that's what they do every single time. However, full support for these 42 MPs standing against the government. But 42 is pathetic. That's a pathetic number. Every single one of those 42 has my full support. But every other Labour MP that is too chicken shit to actually put their name and rebel against this government, I do not care about your opinions one bit, right? Either take a stand, or we do not sit at the same table. Backbenchers signed letter calling for change in direction on plans expected to be put to a vote next month. The letter from parliamentarians spanning the new intake and veterans, and from the left and right of the party, sets Keir Starmer up for the biggest rebellion of his premiership when the Commons votes on the measures next month. There's already been widespread concern among Labour MPs about proposed changes, including a significant tightening of eligibility for personal independence payments, saving about £5 billion annually. They will also involve cuts or freezes to incapacity benefits for people who have had to apply for universal credit but are judged unfit to work. So that's the limited capability for work-related activity payment that's getting almost halved as part of the welfare reforms. According to the internal Department for Work and Pensions forecasts, the planned disability benefit cuts would affect 700,000 families who are already in poverty. So it's not just creating 250,000 new families in poverty, it is also pushing people who are already in poverty into further poverty, to the tune of hundreds of thousands, for almost 750,000 people pushed into further poverty by these cuts. I tell you, this Labour government, led by human rights lawyer-in-chief, Keir Starmer. A vote on these proposals is expected in June, and a number of MPs are concerned they're being asked to approve the plans without proper knowledge of the consequences. The letter has so far been signed by 42 Labour MPs, putting the government on course for its biggest rebellion yet. The proposals set out in a government green paper have caused a huge amount of anxiety and concern amongst disabled people and their families, according to the letter. The planned cuts of more than £7 billion represent the biggest attack on the welfare state since George Osborne ushered in the years of austerity, and over 3 million of our poorest and the most disadvantaged will be affected. And that's it, right? My radicalisation in politics was George Osborne. He is personally responsible for me being the communist that I am today. Personally responsible. I have seen the devastation in this country that was caused by what George Osborne did. Not just regionally, for the region.
I hope they get absolutely destroyed up here next year. And I want Anas to fuck off. Bye, Anas. Hopefully. If that happens, I'll be sitting here fucking rejoicing, dancing a jig around the living room. Because I should be back down in my actual flat soon. I'm hopefully before the end of this month. So you'll see me. I will move my gaming chair out the way and you can see me dancing around the living room celebrating him getting fucking booted off the list. Although with the way our system works for the list MPs, he could scrape in, unfortunately. Yeah. That's what's worrying me about certain areas in Scotland. Hopefully they won't fall for it. Hopefully. I'd rather them vote in a scumbag again.
That had their funding stripped to austerity, but the people who were affected by these welfare cuts. People up and down the country, people who were declared fit for work even though they had cancer, for example, people who died having been sanctioned by the welfare state, people who lost money when DLA changed to PIP, and how that really affected them being able to, for example, stay in work. Like, George Osborne is one of the worst people ever to hold office in this country, and the current government are going further than what George Osborne did. But let's...
Screw you, Gideon. Enough said, that's all I need to say. The man was an absolute fucking monster. They will be. Hopefully we'll be able to get an SNP government in again up here. Hopefully. Labour's going to be targeting all across the Central Belt. Hopefully they won't get too many actual constituencies. They might take up a lot of the list positions, I believe. But yeah, Reform are a real worry. I'm kind of panicked. But there's plenty of time to do research, educate everyone. Well, plenty of time to actually see how Reform do with these 10 councils. And if we see them doing it, well, obviously they're going to try and do fucking stupid shit, which they can't because they have mandatory spending that they have to do. They can't cut everything. They'll go on the usual MAGA trip like DEI and all that fucking nonsense, getting rid of it all. But there's certain things that they have to spend money on. They have to know this. Hopefully they'll realise this, not try any funny shit, but Manfrog, Reform, the rest of them, they're all nutters.
It calls on ministers to delay any decisions until they see full assessments on the impact of any cuts, and for a genuine dialogue with disabled people's organisations to redesign something that is less complex and offers greater support, alongside tackling the barriers that disabled people face when trying to find and maintain employment. And that's the thing, right, is that they haven't spoken to their actual stakeholders just by claiming that they want to do so. Otherwise they'd realise that everything they're proposing is dog shit and disabled people hate it. It's as simple as that, right? Last time we covered this on the stream, we were talking about how Labour insiders were trying to claim that there was some kind of mental health mafia who were getting mad they couldn't claim free money because they were faking it, essentially, was the implication. And that's the kind of people that you have in the Labour government nowadays, the kind of opinions of the disabled that we have. It's sickening, it really is. And they're trying to rush this stuff through by next month, so we don't have time to properly scrutinise what's happening and the reality of what will happen. And they will be the ones who will defend it when, however many years down the line, we understand the negative effects it had and how it didn't actually increase Labour force participation in the way they said it would. Which obviously certainly happen, right? Now, there was some more coverage over the potential rebellion by Anushka Astana, who is the political editor at ITV News, the deputy, alongside Robert Peston, I believe. I think Downing Street are quite taken aback by the scale of upset and welfare reforms that has exploded post-election. Suggestion that if voters this week, they'd get a bloody nose. They're hoping anger will dissipate, but few specific worries. A lot of MPs are worried about the sequencing of the reforms. They are planning to tighten the eligibility for PIP now, they'll be likely key on the June vote, but the money for employment schemes won't come till years down the line. In a debate yesterday, there were lots of MPs on the left you'd expect to be critical, but new MPs who had beaten the Conservatives and felt while welfare needs reform, they argue that the PIP reforms will not protect the most vulnerable. The big issue is MP's caseload. The Blackpool South MP, for example, described people turning up in tears, and so many MPs hearing heartbreaking stories. But Downing Street is convinced it's a popular policy with voters and a big divide between voters and Labour members. As well known, Morgan McSweeney is determined the party is on the side of voters, not members. But we did have an interesting More in Common polling that suggested welfare is pretty unpopular, although winter fuel are worse. Now, there's a couple of things I want to say about what she said here, which is, first of all, this is true. This is a really kind of egregious oversight here, that they're front-loading all the stick with none of the carrot, right? They're just cutting first and then thinking how they're actually going to help these people later on the premise that they actually do want to get these people into work. Again, really undermines that premise when they're making the cuts first. Again, almost like it was being done to penny pinch for the Treasury and not for the interest of the people who are going to be affected by it, because then actually want to help them into work before they start taking the money away. The framing here as well about how, what you'd expect, like the bleeding heart lefties to do things like supporting the disabled, but actually some adults in the room, normal right-wingers, actually also don't think these are good as well. As if somehow supporting the welfare state is like a hobby horse position that's only supported by lefty nut jobs rather than the broad spectrum of the country, given by the response from the public more broadly to these cutbacks. It's overwhelmingly viewed as negative, as per the More in Common polling that's been presented in this thread just now, right? But this framing is so funny to me, is so funny to me, that they just expect that the only people who would care about the disabled are the left, which is, at this point, mostly true, even though there are some Blairite MPs who, even they, think this policy is too far. Also, another funny piece of framing is this idea that the real victims of all of this are the poor MPs having to deal with a high caseload. Oh, diddums, you have to do your job that you get paid £90,000 a year for. Oh, bless. Oh, bless their cotton socks that they might have to deal with higher levels of caseload. Oh, diddums. Not the disabled people who are going to get pushed into poverty. 700,000 people already in poverty pushed further into poverty by these changes, right? No. The real problem is MPs having to deal with the heartbreaking stories in their constituency surgeries, And the last thing that's really illuminating about these comments, right, is the discussion specifically around Morgan McSweeney, who, again, we only hear about now that they are in government and we can't get rid of them. And that Morgan McSweeney, as shadow prime minister, has unlimited power that we now can't get rid of, because people like Anushka Astana, who knew Morgan McSweeney, who's well aware of what he was doing before the election, she was invited to all of his inner party wrecking projects during the Corbyn era. Like, she knew what was going on and didn't comment on it at the time. And now he's in this unlimited level of power as somebody who is controlling the strings of the puppet of Sir Keir Starmer. Now he gets to comment on him like he's normal, whereas us on the left, we were warning that we would end up having an unelected bureaucrat like Morgan McSweeney in charge of the country's policy, and just completely fell on deaf ears for so many sectors of society. Anyway, this position here that McSweeney is so convinced of his own mysticism as being this whisperer for the electorate, this Machiavellian political strategist extraordinaire who has his finger on the pulse of where society is at. as if, no, I'm convinced my strategy must be correct, even though overwhelmingly people view the disability cuts as negative, right? It's not only viewed negatively broadly, minus 50% approval was the more common result of this, but also like 60% of people have also heard of it as well. So it's not only unpopular, it's also been very widely discussed. So it is losing them loads of support and amongst their base as well. But of course, Morgan McSween doesn't care about the base. He only cares about the mythical hero voters. And it's costing them voters and support. It keeps coming up on the doorstep alongside the reforms to winter fuel. Some of the reasons people gave for not voting Labour in Runcorn and Helsby, for example, was specifically because of things like the reforms to PIP. It is callous, it is heartless. It is not what people think the Labour Party should be doing. But Morgan McSweeney wants what he gets, right? And he is so convinced that he cannot be wrong, even in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary, he still ploughs on. And even despite every single piece of evidence that shows that it is a monstrous policy that only genuinely disgusting troglodytes would support. Minister Darren Jones was interviewed this morning on Good Morning Britain, within the context of this open letter signed by 42 backbench MPs opposing the welfare reforms. Now, as a Treasury Minister, he is the one who is being acquiesced to by people like Liz Kendall to push forward with these disability cuts, because at the end of the day, they are to save money for the Treasury. So Darren Jones's chief bean counter is pretty influential in ensuring that these kind of welfare reforms are being done to save money rather than in the interests of the disabled. Let's see what he has to say for himself on Good Morning Britain today.
Can I ask you about this Labour backbench rebellion? Because more than 40 Labour MPs have now written a letter to protest about the welfare cuts, saying that they are impossible to support, the planned cuts to disability benefits. I mean, it's not a great look, is it? Isn't the Prime Minister going to have to listen over this one?
Well, look, it's important that MPs represent their constituents. We are all first and foremost constituency MPs, and that's why.
Not if you put on a fucking three-line whip. And if you do a three-line whip, every constituent of a Labour MP is going to be pissed. We are going to be fucking angry. Because if it is a three-line whip, obviously you can defy the whip and you usually get booted for that. But it shows that you're principled, that you stand up for your constituents, especially your fucking disabled ones. So, like, hang on. Three-line whip. Fucking do it or you're booted. Two-line whip. Vote your two-line whip. We advise you vote this way. One line. Vote your conscience or vote for your constituents. That's basically what that one means. But a three-line whip. If you don't do it, you usually get booted. That's what Bojo done when he kicked out fucking 80 or something. He kicked out, basically, it was mostly One Nationers that got kicked for that one. So that was I can't even remember what the vote was over. Probably Brexit related. But yeah, if it's a three-line whip, if they put in a three-line whip for this vote, and an MP defies it, something will get leaked about them probably. Or they'll get booted out the party, they'll be made independent, essentially. They'll be booted out the Labour whip, essentially. Yeah, I want there's still unions that are affiliated and they give a political levy to Labour because they're affiliated with the party. I want them to disaffiliate, like the Eddie Dempsey. RMT? Is he RMT? Did he take over? I can't remember what. Yeah, it's RMT. I think. They're not affiliate. Whatever one Eddie Dempsey's the head of, they're not affiliate. So am I. So if anyone else hears this, write to your GenSec or whoever your shop steward is, tell them to disaffiliate. They really aren't the party for Labour anymore. They're the party for employers, not employees or workers. So tell your union to disaffiliate. Stop giving Labour money. Sharon Graham, can you hear me?
As members of parliament, irrespective of which party's in government, you'll be part of discussions around changes to policy and legislation. On welfare specifically, our starting principles are the right ones, which is that if people need support, we will make sure they have it. But for people who can...
Your boss and Liz Kendall aren't doing that. SK the Crusader has dropped it. Members got it first, but wait for it. SK the Crusaders got a video that will get released in a couple of days, I think. Tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. Today or Wednesday. It's all about Wes. It's an hour and 23 minutes long if you're curious. People should watch it. I'll be promoting it for people to see. I've promised Sinan that I won't borrow it from the membership feed, because that would be very naughty of me. We get it early because we give him money. But it should be out soon. And when he puts it onto YouTube proper, I might actually show it. Get people to follow Sinan. He really is quite good. And his video about Wes really is quite good work. For what one?
and want to get back into work, we're going to put in the mechanisms to help them.
Also, this is nonsense. You're taking money away from people who are already in work, which will make them fall out of the workforce, and you are cutting support, potentially, for things like access to work, which are specifically there to ensure that disabled people have the tools they need. These are being directly contradicted by leaks coming out of the DWP today, Darren, as well as the fact as your cuts to PIP are going to be damaging to the prospects of the disabled who do actually want to stay in work, because it is the thing that helps them pay for the things that they need to maintain a standard of living like everybody else does, which is something that helps them stay in work because of those extra costs that you incur for being disabled. Like, this is...
The minute SK the Crusader puts it up on YouTube proper so anyone can watch it, not just members. I might show it in stream if you want. Hang on, I'll see if I can get a link to Sinan's page actually, to his YouTube channel. He does live streams as well. Same name, SK the Crusader. Where are you, Sinan, my man? There he's there. Visit channel. See perks. Oh, there, right at the top. Copy link. Reconnecting. Give me my chat back. Stupid phone. Huh. Come on. Give me. Ah, there we go. Oh, it's not came up as blue. There's a link to Sinan's YouTube page, YouTube channel. It's called SK the Crusader. And he really is good. You can watch the two that you've done on Starmer. What are they? They're a good couple of hours long.
Just total bullshit, Darren. And you say you want to represent your constituents. I wonder what they think about the fact that the Green Party came second in your seat with the last election, Darren. I wonder if, as a constituency MP in Bristol, You might want to think twice about
You're
whether or not
welcome.
you support things like this in future. Just a thought.
To do so. The bill in question is not published yet. I'm sure it will be shortly. And in the normal way, the government will work with members of Parliament in Parliament to reassure them, to listen to them, to look at the drafting of those details as the bill passes through the House.
OK. Darren Jones, Chief Secretary to the Treasury, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hate him. I just hate him. I'll be so glad when he gets thrown onto the streets at the next general election and replaced with a Green MP who's not a bellend. Now, this response that we've had from government ministers to a potential backbench rebellion.
Let's check what Darren Jones's majority's like. Darren Jones. Oh, for fuck's sake, he's younger than me. By 7 years. Let's see, where is his suit? Bristol Northwest. Elections last year. Oh fuck. No. Labour, Darren Jones votes 24,058. Green, Mary Page 8,389. So he's got a majority of 15,669. What was turnout? 64.7%. I've seen worse and I've seen better. At least they got over 60%. I want to bring in compulsory voting. So there we go. Tories were next. Oh, everyone apart from the SDB candidate got their deposits back. They all made over the 5% needed to get their deposit back for running. Lucky them. So Labour got 49.6%. The Green candidate got 17.3%. The Scum got 14%. The worst Scum got 10%. And the Lib Dems got 8.6%. And the SDB candidate got 0.5%. Ouch. 222 votes. So 15,000 is... I suppose it's alright. It's right in the middle of... very few MPs have a majority over 20,000. I think there's only a couple of them.
Has not been met lightly by the upstanding and dwindling number of Labour MPs who have any amount of moral scruples left whatsoever. Yeah, there have been some excellent moments where they have called out their colleagues. Here is MP for Blyth and Ashington, Ian Lavery, member of the Socialist Campaign Group, and left-wing firebrand discussing the welfare cuts in a parliamentary committee.
There's not one MP in here, by the way, was elected to make people poorer. Not one. And if you are, you should be you should feel a million shames. Look at yourself in the mirror.
Your lad? I like Ian Lavery. He is good people. Well done, Ian Lavery. I'm surprised Trickett hasn't said anything. Come on, Trickett, what's your feelings on this? I'd love to know. Or maybe they're just not reporting what he's saying. Media here sucks. Bleh.
Why? When the rich are getting richer, the very rich are getting very rich. There's more billionaires than ever, more millionaires than ever. Or we're taking people on pennies. Taking away their livelihood, making their lives so miserable. I'll definitely be voting against these measures. I wasn't voted in to make my people poorer.
Is he yours? Or is he like a neighbouring constituency to where you are? You don't need to dox yourself, obviously. Yeah. Well, Lavery's always been like this. You heard Helena, socialist grouping, neighbouring constituency. Thanks. Yeah, on you go, Lavery. Fucking beast.
For heaven's sake, reduce support and benefits. There are some decent things in this bill with regard to getting people back to work, but the threat of a blanket reduction of benefits is absolutely scandalous. It's not Labour.
I mean, unfortunately, Ian, as much as everything he said there I agree with, these people should take a hard look at themselves. They should fundamentally question their own moral position if they vote through these welfare cuts, right? He's not wrong that in a world where we have more billionaires than we've ever had, we can't be...
I dare Starmer. I fucking dare him to do a 3-line whip to see what happens. Because if you're MP, if you have a Labour MP and they vote for, they go with the party whip, gonna piss a lot of people off. The rest of those Labour backbenchers, can you fucking hear us? I think he will. I think he will, yeah. Remember, empty suit, he's just a fucking puppet. It's entirely what McSweeney and possibly McFadden want to do. There's another fucking wank. Still can't believe he was from Glasgow. He does not behave like he is from Glasgow. Trust me on this. I feel for the people who have him as their fucking MP. I don't think... Is he a Scottish constituency? Give me a minute.
Attacking the vulnerable like the disabled, you know? Everything is correct there. He says it's not Labour, and unfortunately it is Labour in 2025. That's what the Labour Party looks like now. It is no longer the party of the workers. It is the party of the concept of work. It is the party of the Protestant work ethic, as has been made clear plenty of times by people at the top of the government. They are openly saying they don't care about workers anymore. They care about ensuring people do work regardless, as if engaging in work in and of itself is somehow morally edifying, which is, of course, a bunch of made-up bollocks, right? A bunch of nonsense. Total nonsense, that is. So whilst I admire his candour, and I'm glad he is
Ha 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 ha. Pat McFadden from Glasgow is MP for Wolverhampton South East. Because they fucking know we wouldn't vote for him. Yeah.
yelling over this heinous welfare bill. Fortunately, mate, this is the party that you represent in 2025. It's the party that you represent. And I'm glad that he's backing the people in Blyth and Ashington, which has a very high level of disability. It's one of the left behind areas of the country, people who have been put out of work by what's happened to them in a long and arduous career of working in jobs that have a lot of manual requirements, that are the jobs that lead to the most amount of inability to work. Because, of course, what's going to be most likely to put you out of work is if you do strenuous work consistently for decades after decades, you know? And he represents those constituents, and he represents them well. But representing them as a Labour MP, unfortunately you're representing them as part of a party that does not have the interests of the poor and vulnerable at heart anymore. Speaking of members of the Socialist Campaign Group who have made speeches opposing the cuts to welfare, here is another MP from the left wing of the Labour Party, and local hero in my neck of the woods in Nottingham, Nadia Whittome, also speaking out against the cuts to welfare in a parliamentary committee.
Government claims that proposed cuts are about getting disabled people into work, but has provided no evidence that they will result in significantly more disabled people in work. And even if they did, there would still be some disabled people who would be unable to work, and they deserve support too. Under these proposals, many of them would not receive it. What these proposed disability benefit cuts will mean is more poverty, suffering and hardship for disabled people. One young person living with mental illness told Just Treatment, who I hosted in Parliament yesterday, "I feel suicidal when I get caught up in the thoughts of losing this life-changing support." Another says she will not be able to access food, shelter and vital care for her condition. A third young person says, "I am terrified they will take my PIP away, that I will end up homeless and my only option will be suicide." We should be in no doubt that these proposals will...
I will second that, Reza. I will second that, yes. Leave them. Become independent. All of you in the socialist campaigning group, jump ship. Because it's more than likely you're going to be dragged down by all subsequent legislation this ghoulish government's going to bring in. It is, Reza. It is. On you go, Nadia.
Cost lives. That's not hyperbolic. The benefit system has already been a key factor in the deaths of disabled people, like my constituent Philippa Day, who tragically took an overdose and was found next to a letter from the DWP refusing a home assessment visit. If the government goes through with these disability benefit cuts, it will be making a huge mistake, which the public will not forgive us for. We must be true to our values as a party and stand up for the whole of the working class, including disabled people, whether they're in work or not. It's not too late for the government to drop these cuts. If it doesn't, I will vote against them.
And again, I admire the position that she takes, and she's right. It will cost lives. There will be blood. There will be the blood of the disabled staining the hands of Liz Kendall, Darren Jones, Rachel Reeves, Keir Starmer, Morgan McSweeney, Pat McFadden, the whole Politburo, right? Their hands will be stained with blood, and again, the Perfumes of Arabia will not wash that stuff away. It will not expunge the sight of the blood on these people's hands. You know, they can frantically wash the blood away, like Lady Macbeth. It will never, ever, ever run clean. The water will never run clean. Morgan, Keir, Rachel, Liz, Pat, Wes. Your hands will never, ever, ever, ever be clean of the blood of the people who will die as a result of these cutbacks that you're so desperate to make. Again, as far as Morgan McSweeney is concerned, apparently, according to Anushka Astana, just to please an electorate who doesn't even want it anyway, right? The whims of the baying mob is essentially the justification that Number 10 is giving for these cutbacks secretly in briefings to journalists. And she's not wrong, But then she says standing up for the values of this party, and like, it's not the values of the party anymore, Nadia. I'm sorry. It just isn't. And the sooner you realise and join our side outside the party, the better. It is what it is. Interesting as well, I saw that Ian Byrne, the MP for Liverpool West Derby, borrowed a quote from John McDonnell when John McDonnell spoke out against the welfare bill in 2015 that was proposed by George Osborne. He used the phrase, "I would swim through vomit to vote against this bill," and Ian Byrne borrowed that to speak about a Labour Party bill. Like, when you can use lines used by John McDonnell to attack the Conservative Party against the Labour Party, you know these people are cooked. You know these people are totally cooked beyond belief. Unfortunately, Rachel Fries and her gang of miscreants are undeterred by the protestations of people who think that social murder is bad. You know, they are completely undeterred by what their own department, such as the DWP's projections, have said will happen to people in poverty, people on the sharp end of the cost of living crisis, right? They do not care and are very happy to continue pushing through these cuts. This is Rachel Reeves speaking to broadcasters on Friday, who has doubled down on the government's plans and it is crucial for the whole system to be reformed. She specifically said,
"Bring it on." Seriously, people like Nadia, don't know, Lavery, Nadia Whittam, Zara and Absana, I think they're already out. I think they're independents now. Were they one of the 7 that got booted for the 2-child cap vote? Obviously Jeremy, Jam Man, and John McDonnell. They're they're independents. I think Trickett's independent as well. Yeah, make them pay. It's going to kill them in the end if they're going to carry on doing this anyway. We know this now. They're just going to carry on with Rachel Fries and 4% Liz.
I don't think anybody, including Labour MPs and members, think that the current welfare system created by the Conservative Party is working today. They know that the system needs reform. We do need to reform how the welfare system works if we're going to grow our economy. Now, first of all, bollocks, right? The reforms it needs more funding. We need more protection for the vulnerable, not less. We have one of the most punitive welfare systems in Western Europe. It is crazy to think that the reforms that they want to make is to make it less generous and not more, right? As if somehow there is a correlation between welfare reduction and an increased labour force participation, which there just isn't. There is no
Doesn't work like
correlation across
that.
Europe. Most of the countries that have better welfare states than ours have also got better workforce participation rates as well. So this idea that somehow a cuts in welfare will lead to more people in work, nonsense, zero evidence for any of this. Zero evidence at all. And again, the justification for this is essentially trying to say that the Conservative Party's welfare system that they inherited is somehow too generous. They need to cut back on the generous Conservative Party welfare state, right? That the Tories are the party of the benefit scroungers. That's what Morgan McSweeney and these Politburo Labour...
I missed your chats there, Reza. Give me a second. Bandship. Too late. Got that one. They need to recognise how much power they'll have to get. Yeah. We're all going to get frustrated. Yeah. Please, Socialist Campaigning Group. All of you just... Well, if you're one of the 42, there's every chance that you're going to get booted for voting against this. I hope you do vote against it and you get booted and join the backbenches next to Jeremy and Zara and the rest of the others, those 7, essentially.
Together types, they want to reverse how people view these two parties, right? That Labour are the fiscally credible, austere people who are very happy to take on the benefit scroungers rather than people who are there to help the vulnerable. That's the line she's going with when speaking to broadcasters, that the Tories were too nice to the disabled. But again, this isn't a welfare problem, it is a healthcare problem. People are too sick to work, it's as simple as that. And the public realm has been stripped back so far that it does not keep people healthy. So not only are people who get sick spending longer waiting for the healthcare they need to get them ready for work again, we also don't have a holistic enough and well-funded public realm to ensure that people don't get to that position in the first place. Mental health is shot in this country from insecure work, from cutbacks to things like the welfare state for people from impoverished communities. Those communities have been stripped of funding, the high streets have collapsed. The kind of world we live in terms of financial precarity, in terms of housing, is way worse, right? All of these things have contributed to a mental health crisis, right? This is a failure of the public realm at large, of statecraft more broadly. And they're trying to say that none of these issues are the problem, and it can all be entirely boiled down to a too generous welfare state. Some Labour Party. But crucially, if we're going to lift people up out of poverty and give more people the chance to fulfil their potential, the focus has to be on supporting people into work. Of course, if you can't work, the welfare state must be there for you, and with this government will be. But there are many people that are trapped on benefits that are desperate to work and have been cut out of opportunity for so long. That will change under this government. And again, as we all know, as I said 1,000 times before, this is bollocks. This is pure unmitigated bollocks, because the things they are cutting are things that are not work-related. And cutting them will make people less likely to have access to work that they need to support themselves, not more likely. And the fact, after all of this, they want to do even more cuts. Inhuman. These people are inhuman monsters. Let's just call it what it is. These people are monsters. There is no other word to describe the people at the top of the Labour Party right now other than monsters. It's simple. It's simple as that, right? Here is the line that's been drawn. I mean, plenty of red lines have been drawn already, but, at least the people who bang on all the time about, oh, well, we can't be looking after the rest of the world, we need to take care of our own, right? Every single one of those motherfuckers who isn't out there condemning the government for their cuts to welfare is a giant hypocrite. A giant hypocrite. Because these people are the most vulnerable. These people are the most vulnerable sector of society. And again, they have no one to fight for them other than themselves. Because they don't have power, they don't have money, they don't have influence. They rely on the...
I might have a little bit of influence. Just a little bit. I keep on meaning to edit and post the parts, some sections of what I talk about onto my YouTube so people can actually just go and check it out without needing to be online and watch my stream or anything, because, dear God, 2 o'clock in the morning. A lot of disabled people will be in their bed by now. I'm not, because the pain keeps me awake. Double-edged sword, really.
Charity of the government and of the majority of voters that put that government into office have their interests at heart. It just stings even further that it is the supposed Labour Party that is doing these cuts, and especially stings off the back of a promise in the manifesto to have disabled people's voices and interests at the heart of everything they do. But of course, just like everything the Labour Party does, it was a lie. Hey there, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, there's a join button for membership to just 99p to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.
Less than a can of Red Stripe. Oops, still going on caps locks. Kernel demo. Right, you might get to it tomorrow. Yeah, let's do Katie.
This is a gender critical person replying to J.K. Rowling with just the most, delusional comment that I've just ever seen. How I saw someone describing this as, having a cooked brain. This is a cooked brain response. It's just unbelievable. I just cannot believe that there are people who think like this. I could believe that there were, 8-year-olds that thought like this. But this person looks significantly older than 8. So India Willoughby said something that I wouldn't say myself. And then J.K. Rowling replied to it, because J.K. Rowling is obsessed with India Willoughby. I went through because J.K. Rowling recently responded to me, did a video of that recently, and I was going through her media tab to find where she had put a screenshot of me, And like a quarter of all her posts are about India Willoughby. It's like deranged. Maybe jealousy is a factor. Who knows? Anyway, June replies. June Slater, blue tick. June Slater 17. Who has her own YouTube channel. She got her own YouTube channel. Let's see what this is. Goodness. Oh god, she's got 65,000 subscribers. That is incredibly depressing. Anyway, she says, absolutely delusional. Like, this is the most mental thing I've read in a while. Do these trans women ever do real woman stuff? Tell us, June. What's real woman stuff? Put the washer on. Get the kids to school.
Don't have kids.
Pack lunches.
have
Housework.
kids.
Cooking.
Can't do
Shopping.
housework.
Visiting
I
relatives in care
I
homes.
do shopping.
Chauffeuring kids around.
I visit.
Or
I
do they
visit
just
family.
fanny around all day with their appearance? Are you fucking thick? Of course trans people...
But fanny around is a Scottish phrase, by the way. It just means like faffing about or mincing around the house, if you want to put it that way. Fucking hell, June. Yeah, what's real women stuff? I'm not a mum. Do I do housework? I have used the Hoover. Does that count? Is that housework? I do kind of cook. I do shopping. I do that. I've the only relative that's in a care home is my auntie, and I don't really speak to her. Again, I don't have children. I only put makeup if I'm going out. I do my hair. I do the stream. Is that women stuff? This is batshit. Seriously. June, get a life.
Put the washing on and take these kids to school. You stupid fuck. Like, unbelievable. Like, how do you think my clothes get washed? How do you think I eat food? Where do you think my food comes from? Like, if I don't shop for it and I don't cook it, what are you talking about? Like, do you think my cat cooks it for me? Do you think my cat makes my lunch and, like, does the housework? Where do these people, like, you have to dehumanize trans people so much, like, an insane amount, to believe that trans people might not pack lunches or collect their kids from school. Who's getting their kids from school? Like, if trans people aren't picking up their own kids, who's picking their kids up? It's just unreal.
Weird.
It's just so
Really
disconnected
weird.
from reality. I can't even get my head into this space where you consider this group like so subhuman that you can't even imagine them doing like daily tasks, or do they just fanny around all day with their appearance? Like, brazenly misogynistic. Like, very clearly what every single like misogynistic man says about every single woman. Like, oh, all you care about is your appearance. No, we're doing all the normal stuff like everyone else. And when you like, oh, do you even like shop for your own food? I just, what do you think? Like, oh no, actually, I spent all day combing my hair. I spend all day, every day combing my hair and doing my makeup, because that's all I care about. And then I starve to death after 4 days. You stupid fuck. My goodness, it's unbelievable. Someone else pointed out that
My God, these people are so detached from reality. Seriously, do they have a brain? Just because I don't do the majority of the housework doesn't make me any less a woman, by the way, thanks. This is unhinged. This is seriously unhinged. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. Just... what are you on, June? Seriously? and a YouTube channel. Ugh. Because I'm not on the health site anymore, I'll need to type her name into the fucking YouTube, and I might need to check it out to see how mad she is. I hate having to deal with these people, I really do.
Visiting relatives in care homes, is that woman stuff? I think that's rich person stuff, because not everyone can afford to have their relatives who need care to be in care homes. In fact, kind of internationally, across the world, it's very common for relatives who need care to be cared for by the women in their houses. And they're like, elderly relatives who might have medical conditions or dementia or something will need to move in with the family, and then they're often looked after by the woman of the house. And why would that not be true for trans people? In fact, that's more likely to be true for trans people, because trans people are more likely to be poor than cis people. The average trans person's net wealth is lower than the average cis person's net wealth, so we're less likely to be able to afford care homes in the first place, so we're more likely to be caring for those relatives at home. I don't really think that real woman stuff is, like, visiting, like, who is working in these care homes, June? It's mainly women. It could be trans women. Some of the women in these care homes working are trans women, earning minimum wage, looking after your relatives because you're rich enough to afford a care home, and, like, chauffeuring kids around. Also, when I was a kid, I never got chauffeured around. When I was little, my parents would walk with me to school, and we'd walk back together. And then when I got old enough to walk back on my own, I walked back on my own. And if I needed to go somewhere, I had to save up my pocket money in order to afford a bus, because my parents couldn't afford to just drive us around, and they didn't have the time because they were doing adult stuff.
Same with me. I got a minibus to secondary school. When we moved, the flat that we moved to, the council house that we moved to, I was within walking distance of my primary school, so I could walk to school and back each day. Yeah, the vast majority of UK kids walk to their school, unless they're in a rural area. Then I think the councils might provide buses for them to get to their school. But I walked to primary school, and I got a minibus to my secondary because I was disabled. For the first 2.5 months, I walked up to my secondary school and nearly fucking killed me because it's up a fucking hill. Then I got onto the minibus. My mum kept on trying to. You had to apply to the council up in Perth to get it. So for the first 2 months of first year, I had to walk up to my school, and it nearly fucking ended me. My joints were burning. They were literally on fire, having to walk up to school. Bloody hated it. So glad I got in that minibus. I used to get collected at 8:30 every morning to go up to school.
Adult real woman stuff and real man stuff, like cooking the dinner and going to work and stuff. Yeah, it's just, this is like such a, I mean, she's got a gender critical thing in a thing, of course, pronouns, my country's decline, pronouns are obsessed with pronouns. But it's not, like, it's a shock when you see someone say something so dumb. Like, the shocking thing here is the dumbness of it. It's not the bigotry of it. Because it's really common for you to see any, like, if you see racists, they talk about people of other races like they aren't human. They're like, do these people even wash? Do they even clean? Do they even look after their own children? Yeah, they do. They're the same as you stupid fuck. And you see it with like, misogynists always say like, do women even think? Do they even care about work? Do they even do any of this? Or do they just spend the whole day just making themselves look pretty? Like, you're just a misogynist if you say something like that. You're just a racist if you say something like that about other races. It's just so common. It's like the standard dehumanization pattern, and it's a symptom of a belief system rather than itself like the problem. This isn't just like a normal person who has said something dumb. The only reason that anyone would think anything like this and like bypass their brain in order to say it out loud is if they've already dehumanized the group they're talking about. Because like if you were about to say like, you know, do French people even cook their own food? Your brain might come in and be like, well, hang on a minute, before we say this out loud, how do you reckon French people exist? Like, they need to eat, right? They're still human, right? So someone's cooking.
Yeah, I have noticed that with a lot of them. They have no mental stop, no like mental gate, essentially, to think of it like that, like a door. They think, before I actually utter this, prime example, Tangerine Menace. He doesn't have a gate, he doesn't have a door, or a fence that he has to go over before he says shit. He just says shit. He doesn't think before he opens his mouth. And I think with a lot of these gender critical people, they don't have that gate, they don't have that door or reviewing system, essentially, saying, should I say this? Should I put this in a tweet? Should I publish it on my YouTube channel? And they just put it out there, and it infuriates lots of us. And we have to denounce them and educate people, saying, no, that is bollocks. You're talking nonsense. Yeah.
Their food, and if they aren't cooking their own food, where are they getting it from? And no, I'm not going to say this out loud. This is stupid, isn't it? This isn't a real thought. This is an idiot thought. I'm glad I didn't say that out loud, because that would be dumb. That's what a normal person would do if they had a stupid thought come up. But if you've already dehumanized the group,
Yeah, it's just hatred. They're either change frightens them, which which is probably a few of them, or a good few of them, and the rest, they feel that their social rank essentially is going to get brought down. No, it isn't. No. You're still going to be a woman. You can still identify as a woman. We're just including more people under that umbrella to give them the same protections that we do. There is nothing wrong with this. Katie is a woman. Katie is a woman.
to the point where you don't think French people are human, then saying that out loud is fine, because it overrides your brain. It stops you thinking.
Kind of depressing, really.
Like it terminates your thoughts. There's this like phrase, thought termination cliche, where they just say something. Like the classic one is like, oh, women just spend all day on their appearance. It's just like a thing you say, and you don't need to. It's not there for people to analyze. It's just like to signify to the people around you that you're part of their in group, and it's to be derogatory. And yeah, you're not meant to think about it. And if someone tries to think about it, then you get defensive. And I'm sure that is exactly what happened. I did reply to this, but of course she didn't reply. Oh God, this guy, the councillor. Which councillor is this guy from? Reform, of course. Okay. Unsurprising. Very good point, June. Very good point. It's not even a point. Do these trans women ever put the washer on? Answer, yes. So it's not a good point, is it? It's a stupid question. It's a very unintelligent,
Let's read out this full quote from a Reform councillor. Very good point, June. No, it isn't. But watch out, because you'll be called sexist next by these so-say self-proclaimed women. No, they are women. That are not actually women, just men pretending to be women. How absolutely ludicrous. Excuse me, Councillor Davies. They are women. Just like me. They are women. And yeah, they do household stuff. They put washing on, they hang it out if they can, if it's not raining. They make themselves lunches if they have a job to go out to. They do cook, otherwise they'd starve. Do other household chores just like the rest of us. I do minimal housework because my disabilities prevent me from doing the majority of everything in the house. Super hubby does that. That is why he is super hubby. Yeah. Yeah, they're about 60 to 70 years behind the rest of us. Just need to try and educate people to be aware of these. I think most of these people, most of the GC people and these TERFs, they are beyond saving at this point. They're going after migrants now. Fantastic. Christ's sake. So these people are a lost cause essentially, but there's other people that we can reach and we can educate. Tell them all of this is BS.
Thought out question. But watch out, because you'll be called sexist next. Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder why. You've spotted it, Stuart, have you? By these self-proclaimed women that are not actually women, just men pretending to be women. Oh, great explanation there, Stuart. Real big brain stuff. How absolutely ludicrous. Yeah. Yeah, isn't it ludicrous to think about these people who don't wash their clothes, don't look after their own kids, don't pack their lunches, don't do any housework, don't cook, don't shop, don't visit their relatives, don't drive, and spend all day on their appearance. How ludicrous. Yeah, we'll never know. These people don't think. They say stuff, they're just like, I'm a dickhead, ha ha ha. Blue tick, I get money for this. End. Very frustrating to see people like this exist in real life and get, well, on Twitter, 4,000 likes is completely meaningless, but it's the average J.K. Rowling fan. For sure. Someone with absolutely no brain who doesn't think trans people are fully human. Oh, what's going on here? OBS did something weird. Right, everyone, I think we're going to call it there. I do have a bunch of other stuff. Oh man, her YouTube channel looks terrible. The NHS preoccupation with Islam. Good goodness, let's look. Just look at this. Oh man. Intrusive stupidity. I'm sure you're an expert on that, mate. And the globalist.
Oh, no,
Hold on,
indeed.
number 10. I wonder what she means by globalist.
Ooh, globalist.
Man,
Scary.
I hate discovering random people like this and being like,
that.
wow, this person has like a fan base and everything. There are a lot of people on the internet, and most of them are fucking stupid. I'm sure me included, but at least there's orders of magnitude of stupidity, and at least I've never said something like, does this group of people cook food?
Oh, it might be in the news section. Let's see if I can find anyone talking about the possible the disability welfare that's about to go through Parliament. see.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I suspect that the honourable members on the front bench opposite are now surrounded. I suspect that they're the only people.
Oh look, it's Helen Whatley, a Tory MP. She's probably in the shadow cabinet. I think she is actually in the shadow cabinet. Let's see what this ghoul has to say.
People left in this chamber prepared to defend the cutting of the winter fuel payment. Dozens of their own MPs have now joined a long list, including their own Welsh First Minister talking of learning lessons from Wales, the money-saving expert Martin Lewis, and voters up and down this country, telling the government they got it wrong. The Conservatives have led this campaign from the start, but if they won't listen to us, will they now listen to everyone else and think again?
The only reason you lot are defending, shouting out about this is because you were going to maintain it, because guess who votes for you? All the fucking boomers who get this winter fuel allowance. That is the only reason these bastards are saying this shit now. They probably agree with the welfare legislation that they're going to be putting through soon, I think, at some point. Next week, maybe in a fortnight. So, yeah. Oh, I get my money in 2 weeks. So that's the only reason they're defending this cut to winter fuel allowance, which is 1%. I repeat, 1% of the welfare budget, not 1% of the overall budget of government spending. 1% of the welfare goes to winter fuel allowance. Which is piss all. Seriously, piss all. They're not saving much on it. It's just really fucking dumb. And you're likely to lose votes over this, Labour. Can you hear me? Yeah. Well, she's carrying on with mostly the Tory economic spending. Essentially still following that with some little breadcrumbs for us little proles down here in the real world. They wouldn't know. They get fucking 90 grand. Well, cabinet members don't. They get more than that. I think they're on 136,000 a year. So they are so detached from our lives, the way how we have to live. And doing these cuts, just going purely election-wise, this is going to lose them a fuck ton of votes. I hope they do. I hope they do lose fucking millions of votes across the country for the next general election. They fucking deserve it. Because they're essentially Tories in red ties. Oh look, is that Timms? Give me a minute. Is that Stephen Timms?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I mean, we've set out our policy, but here we are 10 months on, and I have...
Oh no, it's Torsten Bell. Who got parachuted in. Damn it, what think tank was he in? Fuck. So he was basically foisted upon Swansea West. Poor Swansea. Hopefully. Well said, Reza. Yes. Yeah. I hope it does fucking destroy them, and they deserve it. They really do. Hopefully they'll get they'll get a kicking next year up here in Holyrood and in the council elections. I hope they get fucking decimated. Well, decimated 1 in 10. That's still leaving 9. Annihilation, please. Please, people of Scotland. We need to teach them a lesson. They can't go around doing this shit.
No idea what theirs is. I'm not even sure that the members opposite know what their policy is. For all the shouting, there is no promise to reinstate a universal winter fuel payment. There is one policy, though. There is one policy from the leader of the opposition, the very woman who in 2022 called for the winter fuel payment to be means tested. Now she wants to means test the entire state pension. Apparently, that's exactly the sort of thing we will look at. She thinks that's bold policy making. It's not. It's bonkers.
Also, with no responsibility for the opposition. That's the good news for him, Helen Wakely.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Also, not something that the Leader of the Opposition said, but to the point in hand, the winter fuel payment, I wonder how much longer this tone-deaf final stand will go on. And every time they talk about winter fuel payments, they actually make out that they had no choice. And that is simply not true. To govern is to choose. At best, this was only ever going to save $1 billion or so. But they're spending $8 billion on setting up an energy company, and the cost of asylum hotels is going to rise to $15 billion under Labour. This has always been a choice, and the wrong one.
Because you lot defunded a cut to the bone the fucking immigration structure, essentially, the way it worked. That's the reason for the fucking hotels. You're the ones that fucking set it up. Yeah. Seriously, I hope they all get booted. No reform. Just no, don't vote for them. And Tory and Labour get an absolute mauling. Both parties deserve it. They really fucking do. I want to see lots of Greens, lots of Socialist Independent, SNP up here. Hopefully the Lib Dems might lose a few. I'm not sure if they've got constituencies. I'm sure a few of them have. Up here, I mean.
Can he guarantee that next winter, every single one of the 750,000 poorest pensioners who missed out on the winter fuel payment this year will receive it?
Minister.
Well, I can guarantee that this government's going to deliver on its priorities for pensioners, raising the state pension with a £470 a year increase this April, saving the NHS with a £26 billion increase every single year.
We have the lowest pension in Western Europe. In Europe, we have the lowest pension. And if you fuck around with that and increase the age, you're just going to piss off a lot of Gen Xers and the younger boomers. I think all the 61, so there's still a few boomers who haven't got their pension yet. And the older Gen Xers, 6 or 7 years, younger Gen Xers like me, I get mine's at 68, so that's another 22 years for me. Fun. Scraping by for another 22 years just doesn't fill me with joy. It's going to be a struggle, I tell you that. Yeah, two-party politics is fucking arse. And first past the post is fucking garbage. We need shot of it. We need shot of it fucking years ago. But they won't do that. First past the post benefits these bastards. We are never going to see PR brought in unless they get an absolute mauling in the next general election. hopefully with lots of Greens and SNP basically taking over Scotland again in Westminster. Like 50, 55? 55 seats? Yeah, it's 55 now, I think. And hopefully we can take them all back. Or do what we done again. Just 3 of them. Lib Dem, Labour, Tory. One of each of them. No reform back then. 2017? 2019? Or was it 2015? I can't remember if it was the election after the coalition. It's either 2015 or 2017. Yeah. Freeze the grannies and granddads. Delightful. Starved children. Also delightful. Socially murder disabled people. Thanks. Fuck the lot of yous.
And what will the party opposite be doing? None of that, because they oppose every single measure required to fund it. And we know what the Tory plan is because we've just lived through it. Pensioner poverty rising and the NHS collapsing.
The government did indeed launch a campaign to increase pension credit applications. Sadly, there was also a surge in the number of claims that were not allowed, with an increase of 133%, or over 100,000 claims that were not awarded. For many pensioners, including in my constituency, the winter fuel payment was a lifeline. Many need their heating on all year round, not just at winter. Yet just because of an arbitrary threshold, they now get nothing at all, and they're losing out. So will the government look again at this because of the impact and the risk of pushing more pensioners into poverty?
Well, I know she's not a Scottish MP because we're mitigating that. We're actually paying for it up here. Praise be the SNP for that, and we're dealing with the 2-child cap as well. Because we don't starve our children. Don't get me wrong, some children are picky with their food. I know I was when I was a little girl and a teenager. I've always been kind of picky, really, about my food. But no, we are mitigating it up here. Because Scotland is based. And we care for our people. We look after them. We don't starve and freeze them to death.
Minister.
Well, I can tell the honourable member about pensioner poverty. It halved under the last Labour government, and it went up on their watch, on the party opposite's watch. It went up by 200,000. Yes, we have had to make some difficult choices, but it's those difficult choices that mean we can afford a third.
Fuck your difficult choices. You're immiserating great swaths of the country. Seriously, fuck your difficult choices. I will not stand for this. Okay? Right? You do not go around socially murdering your citizens and your voters. Good way to get booted out of government. And with reform nipping at your heels, I'm fucking terrified.
£31 billion a year increase in the state pension over this parliament. It's those choices that mean we can afford £26 billion extra a year for the NHS. And none of those choices with the party opposite back, and that's why the NHS and the state pension will be under danger on their watch.
Catherine Smith.
Thank you, Mr.
It's under danger, under your watch. It's in danger under your watch as well. Thank you, Torsten. And Wes, can you fucking hear me?
Speaker, in my 10 years as a member of this House, I've run consistent campaigns across Lancaster and Wyre to raise awareness of pension credit and encourage many hundreds of people to sign up to it. However, I also know that many of my constituents are just above that threshold, but I'm by no means well off. What assessment will the government make about those that are not eligible for pension credit but are still going to look at fuel poverty this winter?
Minister.
Well, I thank my honourable friend for her question. I want to thank the
Oh look, a Labour backbencher saying it.
work that's been done by councils and by third sector organisations right across the United Kingdom to drive uptake of pension credit. It is that work that has led to the 50,000 extra awards compared to the same period last year that we have seen. What I would say to the honourable friend is that it is the choices we have made that mean that we can protect pensioners right across the board. The 4.1% increase in the state pension is possible exactly, that happened in April this year, is possible exactly because of the tough choices we've had to make.
Tom Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Stockport Council was one of the first local authorities to roll out a warm spaces programme that was used by third sector groups to support those in need during the winter months. Will the government commit to helping local authorities roll these kind of programmes out further in the face of these winter fuel cuts and rising energy prices?
Minister.
Well, again, I thank the member for his question and the work of local authorities, including mine in Swansea, to provide places for pensioners and actually for all age groups to come to if they're in need through the winter. What I would say is that the most important thing we can do is to directly tackle the cause of the issues he is raising, and those are to make sure that we bring down energy bills in the years ahead, moving away from the system the party opposite have left us with, which is dependent on the price of gas driven by the actions of dictators like Putin, and making sure that we continue to rise the state pension faster than inflation over the course of this Parliament. That is what...
You can fix that. You can do what we've done. We're completely renewable for our electricity generation up here, Torsten. You can do that. Down in England. You can, honestly. Offshore and onshore wind. There's hundreds of miles of coastline where you can put offshore wind farms. Follow our lead. Do more renewables. If you can fucking... I don't know who their energy minister is. Fuck. I'll check who their energy minister is.
Why the new state pension is set to increase by £1,900 by the end of this Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, this morning the Work and Pension Select Committee were at the Welsh Assembly, where we heard from Wales's Older People's Commissioner as part of our pensioner poverty review. I was impressed that you've got a role with real legal clout, and from what we heard is making a difference for older people in Wales. Is this something ministers agree we should be at least looking at to extend into England and Scotland?
Minister.
Oh, it was the one that was on Question Time on Thursday. Graham Stewart. Minister of State for Energy Security and Net Zero of the United Kingdom, Graham Stewart. He sounded a bit schizophrenic on Thursday.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to say to my honourable friend that we should always learn lessons from Wales, and in fact, this government is already doing that. When we look to the rollout of free breakfast clubs happening across England at the moment, pioneered in Wales, children receiving free breakfast club because of the work.
We've had that for years. See, look, they do follow us sometimes. Baby boxes, anyone? Mitigating the 2-child cap. Having food clubs in the morning before they start schooling. We've been doing all of them for fucking years. Yes. Quite a lot of them do. I think that some of them do think like Victorians at time. We're past that. It's the 21st century, and you can tax the fucking rich to fund all this stuff. Windfall tax, fuck it. Wealth tax, 1 or 2%. The billionaires and multimillionaires won't fucking notice it. Just saying. Won't say it, but certainly act like it. Yes, correct. Well said.
Work done in Wales, and I want to praise the honourable member and the entire committee for the work they are doing as part of their inquiry into pensioner poverty. I will be coming to give evidence to them shortly, and I know that they've been listening not just in Wales but more widely with events in Glasgow and Manchester as well.
Secretary of State Alan West.
Oh, thank God we don't need to listen to Helen Whatley again. Ooh.
Do you think the bin workers are being undervalued by the council?
100%. There is no value attached to our pay grade for what we do for this city. I don't think some residents from Birmingham as well don't.
Solidarity to the Brummie binmen and women and MPs. It is indeed. Yes, I'm sure Kev would agree with you.
Realise the value that we add to their city, and we can see what happens when we're not working with 22,000 tonnes of rubbish lying on the streets and people taking advantage by dumping their rubbish as well. So there is no value at the moment that's been added to our wage structure, and I feel that's something that needs to change as well, not only for the Birmingham bin men, but in solidarity for the bin men all across this country. That they do a fantastic job, and it's a job that every single resident has a legal right to, and they expect it.
How long do you feel prepared to stay out on strike for?
As long as it takes.
Yeah, well, we started taking action in January because of the downgrade and deletion of a safety critical role, which is the grade 3 worko role. They deleted that role with it's not only a safety role, but it comes with a cost of £6,000 to £8,000 loss for our members, which it was completely unacceptable. And with this,
Literally wiped it off their paycheck by getting rid of that grade, that role. Sickening. They just want to be brought back. They really should implement that one again. They shouldn't have scrapped it. Oh, I'm pretty sure Keir Hardie's spinning in his fucking grave. And Tony. Dear God. I bet he would have been booted by this government because he would have voted again. He wouldn't have. He would have been like Zara and Jam Man about the two-child cap, so he would have been booted for that one. He definitely would have been disgusted at what they're doing with the winter fuel payment, and my God, he would have been up in arms with what they're doing to the disabled with these these welfare changes. He wouldn't have stood for it. I hope wherever you are, Tony, you're sitting there shouting and screaming at them.
this dispute's been going on for 4 months now. We've been all out strike now for about 8-9 weeks, and now it's come to pass that the drivers are now set to make a massive pay cut and pay loss of like £8,000 to £10,000. So we thought we were getting somewhere with the grade 3. We thought we could make a deal, and now they've come for the drivers as well.
Can you tell us how many jobs would be affected by those pay cuts, and what would be the impact on workers? What are you hearing from workers about the impact that would have?
I think that's an excellent point, because for some time now Birmingham City Council have been trying to say it's only 17 workers impacted, and yet at one point they gave us a proposal that went up to 41 workers, and then we saw another piece of paper from them that went up to 71, and now we've got the drivers impacted, and there are at least 200 vehicles that go out from Birmingham City Council. So, we're talking about 250, 260 plus workers ultimately impacted in one way or another. And the thing that our members are talking to me about is the impact on mortgages, on rent. They can't just go back to their mortgage. You get told about money advice, don't you? Just go and renegotiate your mortgage or renegotiate your debt, or go back to your landlord and talk about it. But
Not giving too much away, I'm not going to give sensitive information away here, but with this restructuring, getting rid of that role and downgrading them by between 6,000 and 8,000, or for the drivers by 8 to 10, I didn't know that one. I thought that it was about the same 6 to 8 they were dropping, not fucking 10 grand. No household can survive a loss of income on that level. That is basically nuking households, doing that to them. That is disgusting, in my opinion. With them getting brought down to that level, the 24 to 25,000 a year, they're only on a few grand more than me. I get my rent and council tax paid for me, luckily. But these people still have mortgages, still have rent, still have a household to run, get shopping, pay for a car, or pay for travel. Other stuff, insurance policies, shit like that. Home contents and building insurance if you've got your mortgage. So yeah, nooking people's finances like that will put them into precarity, which is fuck off. No. Ugh.
If you can't, what if your landlord...
It's going to be fun to watch the Birmingham City Council election next year. Seriously. Yeah, just fueling more poverty. Fucking ghoulish behaviour.
says, no, I'm not going to reduce your rent. What if you can't renegotiate your mortgage? So it's a lot of stress and a lot of worry for our members.
And that pay cut of about £8,000, what difference is that going to make to their lives?
Oh, that's a massive difference. That's mortgage. That's mortgage payments. That's having to move, potentially not being able to afford mortgage payments, rent. Do you know what I mean? Just cost of living, all those sorts of things. It's just a massive impact. 20 to 25% of their wages just gone overnight.
And there were negotiations in April, but no deal was reached. Can you tell us about how those negotiations went?
Well, I'm limited as what I can say, but a half deal was put on the table for our members, and Angela Rayner, and we had pressure from the council as well, saying that a fair and reasonable deal had been put on the table. But as far as we're concerned, it was a part deal. There was nothing there to protect the drivers or anything else, or those members of that striking members that have been suspended during this action. We need that protections for those as well.
Do you feel like the people of Birmingham are supportive of this strike?
I think they're starting to understand now that we're not asking for more money. We're simply asking to not have money taken off us.
So this is a Labour council. Do you feel let down by Labour?
Oh, definitely, 100%. I mean, it's a shame they didn't have the elections here, because Reform would have swept the field with this. They would have swept it. Yeah. Because before the elections...
Oh, my dude, don't vote for Reform, please. They are so much worse than Labour. I wouldn't want traitor. Totally, traitor. Please do not vote Reform next year, I beg of you. Because if they manage to get the council the size of Birmingham, fuck me. Just fucking end me at that point, please. Put me out my fucking misery. Second? It's the second largest city in the UK. London, Birmingham, Manchester? Then Liverpool, then us, then Glasgow. Yeah, fucking terrifying if they get a majority in Birmingham Council. Ugh. Yeah. Ugh.
Like most of them, they promise you the earth, they'll give you this, they'll give you that, and they give you nothing in return. All they do, Labour, supposed to be the working man, it isn't anymore. It's for, it's hashtag me for them now. They're lining their own pockets while the poor people are going without here.
I think the Labour MPs who are on generous meal subsidies, who this year are getting an increase in their pay, telling workers who work for...
Hang on, let us check how much they actually get paid as standard MPs. This is your bog standard MP, not a cabinet member or shadow cabinet. I think they get a slight increase. The annual salary for an MP in the UK is £93,904 annually from April 1st. So they've had it for over a month, nearly 2 months now. This is determined by an independent parliamentary standards authority. Independent, my fucking arse. Additionally, MPs receive expenses to cover various costs associated with their parliamentary duties. Their food is subsidised, their Their bars are subsidised by the taxpayer, so we actually pay for them to have cheaper food and better food. They get 93,000, nearly 94,000 a year. Don't give them subsidies. Fuck that. They can afford to pay for their own lunches and dinners. I'll second that. Well said. 94,000 a year. What the fuck? Seriously disgusting. They shouldn't have the subsidies. Fuck it. If they need to get paid that amount, fine. And stop letting them have non-executive roles. And don't let them get parachuted into fucking lobbying or into private firms after they've left office, after they've been booted by us. Nope. Don't like it.
A council where the councillors are getting an increase in their allowances of 5.7%, and them to be telling those workers that they've got to accept a pay cut is absolutely appalling. I mean, I've found that an awful lot of MPs who have talked about this don't know. They don't know the detail. We had MPs at one point talking about take the deal and there was no deal, take the offer and there was no offer, then take the proposal and there was no proposal. So they need to really have, especially the local MPs, they need to have a look at the detail, and they need to talk to these members about the impact that cut would have on their everyday lives.
Are the bin workers being undervalued by politicians?
They're absolutely undervalued, and look, here's the irony of it. When the rubbish isn't being collected, and when there's rubbish on the streets, never mind people talking about rats the size of giraffes, we have a public health emergency declared. That's
the size of giraffes. That sounds fucking terrifying. It literally would just take over the city if it was that fucking size, because they breed like bastards. I do not want to see a rat the size of a fucking giraffe. That's like something out of a horror game.
How important these people are. We are told that there's a health and safety risk. We are told that there's a disease risk. That's how important they are. So why then should they be paid only just above the national minimum wage? They should be paid a decent wage. But again, to be clear, we're not asking for a pay increase. They should just be safe and secure in their pay not being cut.
Do you feel like Labour are backing the unions?
No, I mean, Angela Rayner came down to Birmingham and didn't visit one picket line. She visited people who were working.
That is verboten. You are not allowed to visit a picket line. That is naughty. You get your wrist slapped for that or booted out the party. Get made independent. Can't go stand in solidarity with the people you fucking represent. God forbid you should do your job to your constituents.
Working through the strikes, who were involved in the clear-up, but never came to one picket line to speak to one striking worker.
What does that tell you about the Labour government?
It tells me that they're not. We thought the government's changed while we were in the start of this process of change, and we thought a Conservative government would leave, the Labour government would come in, and we'd be in a better position. We seem to be in exactly the same position with the same Conservative appointed commissioners that we had when this started, and they seem to be the stopping block for any deal that can be done.
Angela Rayner forgets a trade union, that she's a trade union lady, and forget.
Yeah, we have to remind her, you are a shop steward, Angela. You are part of a union. You've just went and stabbed all these union members. Yeah. Can you hear us?
That's where she's coming from. She has showed no support. She's not taking the workers' side, and she's broken promises to the working class people of Britain. She made no attempt to visit anybody on the picket lines, yet she put on a high vis and walked around certain parts of Birmingham to highlight the facts. She also said it was a good deal on the table. Nowhere near a good deal. If it was, we would have been back at work.
Do you feel like Labour is supporting the unions in this?
Absolutely not. It might be Labour in name, but it isn't Labour in nature. They've changed so much over the years. There's nowhere near the Labour movement it was when I was a young lad growing up in the 70s and the early 80s. I don't think they're supporting the unions at all. Very disappointing, obviously, as a working man, that they're not prepared to come out and remove the commissioners from their position within the council. Tory appointed commissioners, they should have been gone a long time ago. I feel like Angela Rayner and Keir Starmer and all the head honchos at Labour, they've offered no words of encouragement, they've offered no words of sympathy to our cause. So I don't feel supported at all by the Labour movement.
You mentioned there it being a Labour different to the Labour that was in the 70s and 80s. Do you feel like the Labour today are at risk of losing the vote of union workers?
Well, I think you've seen with the local elections around the country how people have swapped over to reform. And I think what's happening within the council now for hardcore Labour supporters, especially in the north of the country, they're seeing what's happening around the country as well. And it's making them think, who am I going to vote for? And they've turned away from Labour, and they shouldn't be. They absolutely should not be turning away from Labour. And unless Labour grasp quickly what's happening, they're going to lose those votes for a long, long time. It's took them a long time to get back into power. And if they do not regain control, they're going to lose control to reform.
I think majority of people in Birmingham are supportive of the strikes. Obviously, you always get the one or two isn't. A lot of people now, I think at first they thought when you was out here it was about a pay rise. Well, it isn't. It's about protecting your jobs because they're trying to downgrade you. And it's actually when people are realising now that you're losing money, a lot of people are getting sympathetic about it and starting to understand what it's about.
Right, I'll just make this a short. I'll just make this a short one. Let's go and say hi to Shanna over on Capricorn's channel. It's a more reasonable time there. 8 p.m. 7 hours behind, I'm sure. So it's about mid-evening, essentially, over in Phoenix. So let's go and say hi to Shanna, the best mod in the game. Yes. Woo-hoo. Much solidarity to the striking bin workers in Birmingham. Much solidarity to them. I'm fully behind them. And I hope a lot of people in Birmingham are behind them as well. Where are you, Shanna, my darling? She's there. Come on.
Will be determined by a Twitter poll conducted 45 minutes after snowman construction
Cappy. Let's go
begins.
We haven't done this yet.
Okay, so 45-minute countdown starts.
45-minute countdown starts now.
Bye, losers.
Okay. So we have to strategize.
Talk snowman strategy, and the beach is right here. This is the Arctic Ocean.
This is literally the Arctic Ocean. Okay, so I'm assuming that they are headed into town to get supplies.
Wait.
Wait, they're going to the beach.
Why are they going to the beach?
I don't know, but what,
We need supplies. 1 minute to go.
Do we? Okay, do you know the way?
Yeah.
Okay, you
Straight
studied.
and left
You
to the grocery
studied.
store. I did study.
Well, we got to be quick at the store. We don't want to waste time.
What are they doing?
I don't know.
Why are they standing there? What do they know that we don't?
I think they're making a mistake. There is a grocery store in town, but it's a bit of a walk.
How far is the store?
6 minute walk, 3 minute
6
run.
minutes? I wonder, do you think they're not doing supplies?
Don't worry about them. Focus on our strategy.
I know, but keep in mind, our strategy is their strategy. Our strategy is opposing.
10 seconds. Okay, this has been great.
There.
This has been good.
I think that what we do is we use the full amount to make the big
See you later.
dwarf their
Stay
snowman.
beast.
And we can decorate it with stuff that's on the beach.